So, no one tells you that being a stay at home mom, once you are in that role, that it's hard to find work or to get back to a career. So, I mentioned previously that I was trying different things, looking at franchises like Kumon, Auntie Annie's, Chick-fil-A. And at the end of the day, I was like, I'm not going to do those. One, I didn't have the finances to do them except for Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A was still very reasonable. I think it was $10,000 buy-in. And it may still be the same. I'm not sure. But I was like, I don't want to do those things. So I decided I wasn't going to do them. And at this point, it was 2023. I was pregnant with my son, and I'm just trying to figure out what is the next step? What is the next plan? What can I get moving and activated while I'm pregnant with him so that once I have him, I'll have something solid to lean on. And so I was throwing things, literally just throwing out ideas and trying different things. Nothing was sticking. So I said, okay, I'm going to go back to a project I had started working on previously. This project was a web series about a stay at home mom trying to conquer the world with her child in tow. And it was loosely based off of me being everywhere with my kid because I didn't have any child care. I didn't have a sitter. I didn't have those things. And so she was with me literally everywhere I went. And so the show was based off of that. And I was like, okay, well, I want to do something different because at this point we were living back in Georgia. And I felt like there were not a lot of resources here. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to start a writer's room here and we're going to write, a bunch of episodes of the show. And then, we'll try to pitch it, whatever. So I hired 4 writers who were not part of the Writers Guild. I am a member of the Guild. And so my production company became a WGA signatory. And because of that, the 4 writers who I hired were able to join the Writers Guild. So we wrote 10 episodes. And then after the 10 episodes were done, I just kind of sat with it a little bit and tweaked some things, made some changes. And then I sent it out to some people and were like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Some people were like, oh, I would take this out or I would scratch these episodes. It was a lot of back and forth. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to hire the writers back because here's the thing. When you go to the guild, you got to pay people. So I was like, okay, well, let me just figure out what I can do. I made changes on my own, and then I said, okay, well, let me see, how much it will cost to film it. I started working with a producer, and we were looking at some crazy, crazy money. Like, I think at one point we were up to like $40,000. And I was like, 40, what? Like, no, not doing that. So then I sat on the project again. At this point, my husband wasn't working anymore because he had gotten sick while I was pregnant with my son. Well, right before I got pregnant with my son, he was sick. And so he was dealing with some health issues and he overcame a lot of the health stuff, but still dealing with some stuff even to this day. But he was not doing well then. And so I'm like, okay, well, I just have to figure something out. I'm going to go film this. And I sold my car at this point in time. So I'm like, I'm going to film this. And then I'm going to take the money that I have for my car. I'm going to film this. And then I'm just going to get it out there some way, somehow. So I produced that before. So I knew how to produce. I never directed before. And I never wanted to be a director. But I also know that I did not want to pay anybody. And I wasn't going to pay anybody. Because I think as an artist, when you spend time just trying to get something made. And I respect the heck out of people in their individual crafts. Like directors are talented, producers are talented, set designers are talented, and everyone has their own talent, right? But at the end of the day, people want to get paid. And for some reason, when it comes down to independent projects, they want to get big money. And I'm like, what do you think this is? Like, this is not a studio production. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it myself. And so I waited. I had to get off of bed rest because, as I mentioned before, my son, I was bleeding, and so I couldn't do anything. And so by this time, I was about 7 months, and I finally had stopped bleeding. And I'm like, okay, I'm hitting the gas. I got everything together, hired casting director, hired crew, all the things. I'm like, we are going to film these episodes now. So we can't film 10 because that's not my budget, but we're going to film 5 of them. I get everything together. When I tell you I did everything on this series, I was a director, I was producer, producer. I was helping with extras casting. I was ordering the lunches. I was doing everything. Okay, carrying all the stuff, the set bags. I was coolers. I was doing everything because I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get it done, and I'm gonna get it done before my son gets here. And I don't need for anyone to tell me no, I can't do it, or you're gonna pay me. People wanted crazy money, $3,000 a day. 3,000? What? Are you on crack? Absolutely not. So I said, I'm gonna do this myself. And so I did it. So we filmed over a 4 day period, got everything done. Of course, mistakes were made. There was some money that I was charged that I should not have been charged. We went through the guilds, and anyhow, I'm not going to get into all that. That'll be an episode for another day. If people want to know about when you film something and you go through SAG or the Writers Guild, I can tell you all about it so you don't make the same mistakes that I did. So anyhow, I filmed it, and after I filmed it, I'm like, okay, I have $2,000 left. That's all I have. So I had worked with one editor before. She knew me. We did, I think, two or three things together at this point in time. Short things, like something that was like 4 or 5 minutes long. And so I reached out to her. Now, before this, I reached out to a bunch of editors, and they wanted like 12,000, 15,000, $10,000 to edit it. And again, I respect people's craft, but I don't have that. So I cannot pay you that. So I reached out to her and I told her, hey, this is what I have. Are you able to help out on this project? And she responds right away saying, yes, of course. She said, the only thing is, I would need the money up front. So I said, okay, no problem. Again, I have worked with her before. So I did a contract. Everyone who worked with me did a contract. I did a contract, sent it over to her. She signed it, all the stuff, and then I sent her the money. And then I dropped my hard drive off to her. I drove out to where she lived, dropped the hard drive off, and actually I met her at the mall. But I did know where she lived because I had been there before to drop something off. I met her at the mall, dropped off the hard drive, and then she says, "Okay, let me get everything together. Give me about 2 weeks, and then we will meet up again to talk about the footage and all this stuff." I said, "Okay, sounds good." 2 weeks went by. I did not hear from her. Um, and so I'm like, okay, I hit her up like, hey, just reaching out. I'm having my son in September. This is back in 2023. I'm having my son in September. I just need to know like what is going to be the schedule because once I have him, like it's going to be a lot. He's going to be here. I have my daughter. My husband isn't feeling well. Like I need to know what's going on. And she's like, oh, no worries. I'm going to have everything done before September. The girl ghosted me. Like she disappeared on me. And so, what are you doing, buddy? Disappeared on me. And so I reached out to her a couple of times. Again, hadn't heard anything back. By this time, I had my son. And of course, he's here. So I'm overwhelmed with parenting and, doing all the things, taking care of my son, my daughter. Again, my husband wasn't well. So I just kind of did not reach back out to her. I want to say until like the end of October, November. And I hit her up and was like, hey, I know I've been super busy, but I reached out to you numerous times. What is the status? Because I have not heard from you. And then she's like, oh, sorry about that. I got really busy on some projects. And then she said something else happened in her personal life. I don't know. Some long story she gave me. But she says, I'll have it done for you by December. Of course, December comes and goes, nothing. Then we're into January. And then she starts sending me like small clips of stuff, like maybe like a minute of something, or what do you think about this? And I would respond, and then she would disappear again for weeks at a time. And so this went on and on and on. And then when I would call her to say, you send me this clip, but this doesn't make sense. Can you fix this? Then she was like getting agitated because meanwhile I paid her, right? So there's no incentive for her to do the work. So anyhow, my sister was a lawyer, so I was talking to her about it. Like, should I sue her? What should I do? My sister was like, it's not even worth suing her. She was like, just get your drive back. And so at this point, I'm pissed because I don't have any money to pay anyone to fix this footage. So I think I had to wait from the time that I initially had hired her. I didn't get my drive back until it was a year plus later. It was like the fall of the following year when I finally got my drive back. Because first she was like, she was out of town, she needs to fix the episodes first. And I just told her, like, I'm working on another project with someone and I need my drive. This only drive I have. And the drive actually is an expensive hard drive. And I was like, I need my drive back. And then she's like, are you going to get it back to me once you're done filming what you're filming? And I said, yeah, I'll get it back to you. Of course, once I picked it up, I never spoke to her again, never heard from her, none of those things. So then I'm like pissed and I'm sad at the same time because now I have wasted money from paying someone who didn't do the job. And now I don't have anyone to actually fix the series because I don't have any money to pay them. So more time goes by, and I reach out to another editor who someone else had referred to me, and I tell him basically the situation, and he gives me his rate, which I don't remember what it was, 5,000 or 6,000, and I was like, yeah, no, I can't pay that. And then months go by, probably 6 months or 5 months, whatever it is. That same editor reaches back out to me and was like, hey, I've been thinking about it, and I really want to help you with this project. And he comes back to me with like an 80% reduced rate. And it was like he's gonna do it, and I was like, well, I don't have $2,000 right now. I said, can I like pay you over time? And he says yes. So I paid him over time and got everything done, and he got the series done. So now we're like 2 years plus out the gate. So from 2023 we're now into 2025. Once the project was done, I said, okay, let me figure out what I can actually do with this, because now it's been a lot of time since the time we actually filmed it. So I reached out to a couple people. They weren't sure what to do with it. So then I'm sitting on it. And at the top of this year, I reached out to another producer that I knew, and I really didn't know him. Like I met him like maybe once before. What are you doing, buddy? I met him like once before, and anyhow, I told him the situation. What do you want? I told him the situation, and I said, this is what's going on. This is what I did. This is what I've been through. Are you able to help with anything in terms of distribution, anything like that? He's like, okay, let me look at it. He looked at it and was like, well, what do you need? Where do you want it? I was like, well, I can tell you the long term where I want it. I said, but right now, I just want it somewhere. As I work really hard, I spend a lot of money, and I need to move on to something else, but I need closure with this. So he helped me, referred me to some other people. Long story short, I got it onto this platform called MyVert. And it came out this year, Mother's Day weekend of 2026. The project finally came out. So that was literally a 3-year span from the time that we actually filmed it, because I filmed it in, was it June? Well, the end of May of 2023 is when I filmed it. And it came out Mother's Day weekend of 2026. So, yeah, it was a long, long journey of just trying to get something done, trying to get something out there. But while I was working on that, I was working on another plan. I said, okay, I'm going to start a parenting brand, like a parenting media brand. So I was back meeting with the Small Business Development Center, like, can I get a loan for this? To start this media business. I said, I have a series, I have this, I have that. They denied me the loan. It was an SBA loan. They said no, they were not going to give me a loan. And the loan actually wasn't for that much money in retrospect. It was $50,000, and they said no. And so the business coach at the time, he was like shocked that they did not give me the money. I'm like a veteran spouse, all these things. My husband's a disabled veteran, all the things, and they still said no. So I went from finishing a project to looking at doing a woman's a mother's parenting brand, media brand. And then I'm like, okay, well, that's not panning out. Let me figure out what I can do next. And I will talk about the next thing in the next video.